tell if you're talking about Asuka, in which case you're wrong, because Asuka is based to your taste. Let's see. 3756. Do the nasty negative things people say but you ever get to you? How do you cope with it? Are you on Xanax? I've already answered this. Again, I just have the supreme ability to just not really care. I mean, again, it's something that I've grown up with. It's I have had the luxury of time and kind of scaling with 4chan and I've had the luxury of time to kind of grow with it and mature as a person. And I mean, I would say if 4chan were to have gotten wildly popular or the what do you call it, the community's kind of feelings about me or whatnot, if that had changed suddenly, dramatically overnight, I think, without having 10 years kind of under my belt, I mean, it would have been a lot more difficult to cope with that. Again, that's one of the biggest concerns I have about passing off the site to an individual, is that I think you'd be very hard pressed to find an individual who's kind of emotionally and just equipped to kind of handle just this burden, this time, and this giant burden that is 4chan, as far as just the hopes and dreams of 20 million people kind of resting on your shoulders. I mean, it's a lot. And again, the reason I was able to kind of deal with it for so long is just because I had the luxury of time and just was able to kind of grow over time as a person and kind of in tandem with the community. And I think that put me in a good place to deal with it. Again, it's kind of like earning your money over time versus winning the lottery. It's just in one of these ways you learn to have a really healthy relationship with how to save and spend money, and the other you have this sudden influx of cash and it probably ruins your life and you spend it all. So no, I have the ability to just kind of feel good things even to people that don't feel good things about me. Am I on Xanax? No, actually, I up until very recently had never taken a psychotropic drug of any kind. I was prescribed, one, and basically took an ADHD medication. I don't take it. As it turns out, it doesn't really help because I'm just the world's largest procrastinator. I was kind of trying to figure out how to address that, but so I've never taken Xanax. I've never done any sort of narcotic drug, an illegal drug of any kind outside. I've done caffeine and what are the other ones? What's the other gotcha? I've actually never smoked a cigarette. I've never had nicotine. I really don't like anything that alters them. I don't like the idea. I don't like taking medicine at all, really, in general. I really don't like the idea of kind of altering one's mind or anything like that. And again, I tend to be so even-keeled and happy anyway that I don't actually need any kind of chemical assistance or rebalancing. So no, I've not taken Xanax. That is not my secret. Although, to those who need, psychotropic, psychoactive drug medication like Xanax to function, then again, by all means, then that, if that's something you need, then there's no problem with that. I guess I got lucky in that respect. Somebody said 3760. Bill Gates stands by Microsoft. Mark Zuckerberg stands by Facebook. Steve Jobs stood by Apple to his death. That one Japanese guy stands by Nichan and Nico. What does it say about Fortune now that you're leaving? So to be fair, Microsoft or Bill Gates resigned from Microsoft and has been primarily involved in the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for the better part of more than a decade. Mark Zuckerberg is still very young and is obviously very active with Facebook. Steve Jobs was ousted from his company and later returned and yes, died. Hiroyuki more or less took a step back from day-to-day moderation role at Nichan for a long time. Nichan's also a much better business as it turns out than 4chan. And Nico, he's I think technically resigned from the board of directors. But so what does it say about 4chan now that you're leaving? So I don't really think your example actually said that much, given that they're all pretty different. But again, I think it's there for the 4 examples you gave, of which were all actually pretty varied. There are hundreds more examples of people who have done something for a long time and been very happy with what they accomplished and decided to kind of take a step back at a certain point in time and to kind of take the mic drop of sorts. So I'm very pleased with the decision that I made, and I think it was the right one for both me and ultimately will be the right one for the community. So that is your answer, I guess. 3789, are you going to set up a 4chan foundation to run 4chan, like how the Wikimedia Foundation runs Wikipedia? No, I mean, I considered in the past, I highly doubt that'll happen. Nonprofits are a lot of work, and they require a large investment of both time and money. Accounting, there's so much overhead with becoming a nonprofit, and there's just, I mean, on my way out the door, there's just no way I have the time, energy, or money to do that. So no, that's not going to happen. And again, I talked about the Wikipedia kind of governance model a little bit earlier, and I still don't really think that would be right for 4chan. And again, I think Wikipedia has a lot of kind of a lot of problems with the way it's managed, and it works for them. But again, it's a pretty specific example. I mean, it's harder to find. I mean, Wikipedia is really the only standout example in that respect. Again, they have the benefit of lots of corporate. I mean, it's so different from 4chan. I mean, it has lots of corporate sponsors and donated servers and bandwidth, and their donation drives bring in millions, tens of millions of dollars. I mean, 4chan only ever took, we took about $14,000 in 2005 in donations. And again, people conveniently like to forget this, but I've never asked for nor received another cent of your money. I mean, outside of selling the 4chan pass and the advertising, which again, I have written about this in the past, but is fundamentally different. It's a product or service that you're receiving in exchange for money, whereas a donation is, you get it's a donation. So sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But we haven't asked for a single cent in donations since 2005. And prior to that, if you add up all of the money we take in donations, it's about $20,000. And so, and that's all I guess 10 years ago. And so it's hard to say how that would change now. But I don't really believe in the donation model. I don't think it's sustainable for most large websites. Again, Wikipedia is like the only example you can really name that's kind of figured that out, and it's just such an outlier and kind of a shiny Pokemon that I don't think it should really be used as an example, because it really doesn't kind of apply to other websites. So I mean, just to kind of recap, to have it, I guess, in voice in my ramblings, why I don't like donations and why 2005 was the last time we took donations. But so back in 2005, we did this really essentially an old Kickstarter kind of model where we did this. I said, hey, look, and at this point, if you used 4chan between 2003 and 2005, you would remember that we had so much trouble keeping the site up. I was 15. I didn't have a bank account. My friend, Man of Wax, used to help out. He actually opened, we talked about this, we met up like a year or two ago for drinks, and he was like, oh my God, back then it was the blind leading the blind. I mean, it was just such a wreck. I mean, he was in college at the time, he was in his late teens, early 20s, and it was truly just hilarious how we were just kind of, just holding each other's hands through this darkness, trying to figure out what the fuck to do to keep the site afloat. And so he opened a bank account. I mean, I was using his bank account for a while, and after a certain point, he said, "Oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do with my taxes, and I don't know how this is going to affect me." And so he didn't want to do it anymore. So I forgot what I ended up doing after that. But I think I finally turned 18. I opened up my own bank account. But anyway, so back then, we had a lot of trouble keeping the site afloat. I mean, we would, we couldn't use ad networks. We used AdSense. We got kicked off AdSense. If you guys remember, if you're old enough, you'll remember 4channel.org. We actually split the site into two. The not work safe from the work safe, because we monetized the work safe using Google AdSense and eventually got kicked off. And what they claimed was for click fraud, which is, I mean, we certainly weren't doing it. And as if you've ever dealt with Google customer support, that's the joke. There's no customer support. So we got kicked off AdSense. And it was just a really dark time, and the finances for a long time. Again, almost until 2008 or 2009. And so we did this donation campaign where I said, look, I need $20,000. And if you donate $20,000, I'm going to purchase servers, as we had been using managed and dedicated hosting. I said, look, I think it's more cost effective to purchase servers. We can get better servers and we can own them. And I ended up doing this, but off eBay. But servers and a year's worth of hosting, and I've kind of calculated that this will cost